Okay, so I wrote down prompt to recognize words with word study patterns. And I'll say like in guided reading.
Okay.
And you can, sometimes what I find is I make that decision and then other opportunities pop up and I just do it.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. No,
You never know when it might happen.
I'm all about that.
And that's just for, oh God, I'm so sorry. What were their names
No,
again?
you're fine. Matt and Ethan.
Matt and Ethan. Cool. Yeah. And then if we want to think about getting that transfer in writing, do you want to think about that with another group of your word study kids, or do you want to think about that with these two?
I think, do you mind if I just stay with?
No, not at
yeah,
all.
I think just to kind of have that focus on those two to really see that, and hopefully I see the transfer with like the prompting and things like that, and like you were saying, being able to grow from that and then work with different groups.
I think that's a great plan.
Okay.
So if we think about what that might look like, because here, that idea, you're prompting them to use that information and transfer it into their reading, their word solving.
Right.
And so now, how will you prompt them to use those word patterns,
Right.
those specific patterns in writing?
I think they, let's see, let me think about this.
Sure, take your time.
I think the transfer comes often when like they're working on a draft or working on things like that and being able to go back and edit. They don't often catch those spelling mistakes because again, I think like the auditory part, you know what I mean? Like you were saying, like when they're writing, they're not reading it to themselves aloud often.
Sure.
Some of them will definitely just do it without prompting. But with those two, I think they often think that they, you know, it's what's on their page, like that's what it is. So I think giving them more opportunities to read it to me and read it to like other people in the classroom to hear those spellings. So like if they hear those patterns aloud, then they would be able to recognize to kind of fix those errors and things like that.
Okay, so then, and in writing workshop, they're writing daily? Do they have daily? Okay.
Yes.
So do you want to prompt them by, do you want to have them reading, like as a partner? Have them read to each other or read to you?
Yeah,
or?
yeah. No, I think kind of a bit of both. I would love to start out like with them with me, but I think then giving them that power to like work with each other, because you know like with what I saw on the carpet, you know, and what I see often is like they do learn so much from each other, you know, so being able to hear that and fix each other's mistakes and like kind of like how they work together here to kind of fix their sorts.
Yeah,
you know.
You have a beautiful something going on here with your, it doesn't just happen, I know. They seem to work really well with each other and just very, very open about working with each other.
I really enjoy
starting
that.
in room 220.
So I'm trying to envision what that would, oh, go ahead.
No,
I'm
you're
sorry.
fine. But then I also thought about, because we were talking about like the reading aspect and being able to recognize those, or even just like having them kind of pull out some words with those features and having them use those within their writing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Tell me, so what would that look like in your classroom if you did that?
So even like with them, if I even just gave them, which just might be giving them like too much, but as far as like a word bank or just something like that, and be able to use them within context within their writing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
Would that word bank be based on their word cards?
Right.
Okay.
Kind of, and maybe not necessarily even like they could be different words that have the same patterns. You know what I mean? Just to be able to recognize words outside of their list.
Sure.
I don't know if that would be giving them too much or.
And the only thing I would caution is I would hate to start kind of contriving their writing. You know, I'm going to throw a word in here to make it fit.
Right. Exactly. No, that makes sense.
But we've got to find a way to kind of get that in there. I'm wondering if examining their writing, like their most recent writing, even like the last couple of drafts or things, they don't even have to be, you know, complete drafts or anything like that. It might be helpful to just go back and look through there. Maybe looking with them.
Right.
You know, and just say, let's look through here. I mean, you could look through them, you know, give it a quick glance because you know the patterns that they're working on. Give it a quick glance and then have them read through and see are they using that? Are there any
Right.
places where they didn't use that pattern successfully?
Okay.
That you might be able to highlight that for them, and that might also, that might get that. That's kind of like prompting them to
Right.
use what they know. That's all
Right.
you're doing.
Right.
You're not trying to teach them anything new. You're trying to get that transfer, just prompting them to kind of use what they know. So we could go back, maybe looking at previous writing
Okay.
or current.
Right. Okay.
You know, might be that prompt for them to in future writing.
Oh yeah.
So I'm trying to think what that would look like on just a daily basis in the classroom. I mean, that kind of. I mean, would you do that during like conferring with writers? Okay.
Yeah.
So it'd be a natural part of your
Right, exactly.
your class, which you're already doing.
Right.
And then do that both with Ethan and Matt. Will you have a chance to do that tomorrow, before I come in the afternoon?
They're just now starting their drafts, so I don't know how much.
What about a previous draft, or even a final copy of their writing, something they've done in the past?
I would say, yeah, we could look at something. Some of them take their drafts home after they're done.
Okay.
So that would be, I would have to check with those two as if they have them or if they're. Yes.
And if not, if there's not, I mean, but if you have a previous draft of
Right.
any of their writing that
Okay.
they've done, to be able to, for them to step
Right.
back and say, okay, so we're working on this week. Now that you know this, are there
Right.
words in here that you could apply your new learning?
Okay.
You know, because they've
Right.
already attempted. It's already in their vocabulary
Right.
realm.
No, absolutely.
And just to, my theory is, if they see, oh, this new learning, you know, I've already done this. We're not trying to go back and make them redo anything, but
Right.
just recognize, oh, there's opportunities
Right.
for me to apply my new learning, that might encourage them to do it moving forward.
Oh yeah, no.
In new pieces.
No, I agree with that. Definitely.
It's just a theory.
Yes.
We'll have to test
Oh,
it
yeah,
out.
exactly. No, absolutely.
Okay. So then I'm going to write this. How do we capture that? So in terms of prompting them about their writing. I don't know. Maybe it's kind of the same way, like prompt them to recognize the patterns that they're studying in their own writing.
Oh yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
That makes sense to me.
Because we're still trying to get them to recognize.
Right. So I think some of them do things without even recognizing it too. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
like, you
So
know,
when
which
they
is
do
great.
it,
yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
But being able to see that, yeah.
I think that, I mean, if you can find examples where they've used this pattern successfully in previous writing or their current
Yeah.
writing, you're like, see,
Right.
you're taking this on, you know, keep
Exactly.
you know,
Okay.
being aware of their own learning.
Right. Okay.
Might prompt them to get more transfer down the road.
So could I even have, like their informational writing, could I even just like sit with them and kind of like have them highlight where they used like the pattern?
Oh,
And
sure.
things, you know what I mean? Just to, so they're able to
Absolutely.
recognize that? Okay. Let's say we
Absolutely.
can definitely do that.
That might be, I mean, you could, like I said, you could look at it ahead of time, or you could have them just, you know, sit down and say, hey guys, bring your writing, whatever you're working on, if,
Yeah.
whatever, it doesn't matter what piece of writing, it could be
Okay.
even their writing about their reading.
Okay.
Because you said
Yeah.
you could look at, you
Right.
could look at both pieces.
Right.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Think about
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
That could
That's
be
a good
powerful.
thing. Right.
Because that's two different contexts
Mm-hmm.
that they could apply their new learning to.
Right.
Oh, it gives me goosebumps.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
I love this.
So, yeah, if you'll have time to try that out tomorrow,
Yeah.
and then I'll be in here during word study too,
Okay.
and then we can sit down afterwards and see if anything that
Right.
we've gleaned
Oh yeah.
about what they've done. And I recognize you do like guided reading and writing earlier in the day. So if you have an opportunity to do that with them, we'll
Yeah.
sit down and look at that.
Okay, yeah,
when we get
absolutely.
together.
We can definitely make time for that because I would love to see that, so, like what they're recognizing and whatnot. So yeah,
That would be exciting.
absolutely.
Do you have any other thoughts or questions? Things you're wondering?
Being able to bounce, I love being able to bounce things off of each other and to get the feedback and things like that. So no, I think the clarity and things like that on how I can move forward with the prompting and things like that, and the transfer definitely has helped.
And I think that'll help us get back to
Yeah.
our original question.
Yes.
Will prompting increase transfer in their writing? And I'm going to put slash. I'm going to put reading, and I'm talking about word solving, because I think you're onto something here.
Okay.
I know you mentioned the transfer in their writing, and that's typically what we associate with the word study.
Right.
But that's why that word study is so powerful, because it feeds their word solving and their reading
Right.
as well.
Absolutely.
So, oh, this is exciting. Okay, well, if you have any other questions or thoughts along the way before I see you tomorrow, just text me.
Okay.
And we'll stay in touch, and I'll plan to be in tomorrow and see him in action again.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. This is great.